guys. Okay, welcome to week 2 on exponents. Last week, I apologize for the video not working, but hopefully this one will be a little bit better and that you did get a chance to go back and look at the one that I posted I reposted it basically. Okay, so in your assignment this week, you're going to find the notes and you should have those out or at least have read them when you're listening to this video. Okay, so they make a little bit more sense. So basically, I just want to go back and just kind of review just a little bit about what we've talked about so far. So talking about exponents, we learned a couple of vocabulary words. We learned base, we learned exponent, we learned power, we learned exponential form, we learned expanded form, we learned cubed, and we learned squared. That was a lot of words that we learned. Today, we're only going to really learn one extra word that we need to know, and that is standard form. But so just to review, looking back on what we learned so far, we have learned that when you have a number and you raise it to a power, you are saying that you're taking this number, which is the base, and you're multiplying it by itself that many times. So 5 to the power of 4 is actually 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. Okay? We also remember that when you are working with exponents, you never multiply the base by the exponent. This whole thing is called a power, and this power is not saying 5 times 4. It is not saying that. It is saying this, 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. You'll notice that this answer is going to be way larger than this. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 5, and then that number times 5. So it gets to be a very large number, okay? So again, base, exponent, power, okay? This is expanded form. We've written it out. It's expanded. It's long. This is exponential form, okay? So there's our 5 of our vocabulary words right there. Base, exponent, the whole thing is a power. Writing it out is expanded form. Writing it in the form of an exponent is exponential form, okay? The other 2 words that we learned were cubed and squared. And if you remember, any number brought to the power of 2 is called squared, okay? Any number brought to the power of 3 is called cubed, okay? 6 to the power of 2 is also 6 squared. 7 to the power of 3 is also 7 cubed. Again, this is 6 times itself 2 times, or 6 times 6. And this is 7 times itself 3 times, or 7 times 7 times 7. Okay? These are multiplication problems. Exponents and powers are ways to express multiplication. Okay? So now let's get to our new lesson. Our new lesson and a new vocabulary word. Okay? So the first thing, as we remembered, we've done exponential form and we've done expanded form. And now we want to do standard form. Okay? Standard form. Standard form is basically the answer you would 5 to the second power is exponential form. That is the same as 5 times 5, which is expanded form. And the answer to 5 times 5 is 25, which is the standard form. Okay? So the answer you get when you do a when you figure out an exponent, is called the standard form. Okay? Exponential form, expanded form, and the answer is a standard form. Really simple. Okay? So in some of the worksheets that you're going to see that are attached to this thing, this assignment, you have your notes, and I printed it, but you don't need to, of course. There are 3 worksheets. I labeled them 1, 2, and 3, and I think you should do them in that order. They will make more sense if you do it that way. So basically, it's asking you to figure out what the standard form of the exponent is. So if it's 2 to the 4th power, this is the first example, plus 5 to the 2nd power, then it gives you several blanks and an equal sign. It wants you to figure out what you're going to add here. What are you adding? What is 2 to the 4th power? Well, we know that that's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Okay? So let's figure that out. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 4 is what? 32. Okay? So this is, no, 16. 16. 8 times 2 is 16. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. So this is 16. And then this over here is 5 times 5, which is 5 times 5 is 25. So that is what you're adding. 16 plus 25. Okay? So before you can do an addition problem, you have to figure out what this stands for. What is this expressing? And you have to figure that out by multiplying. Now, some of these might be bigger numbers than others. Don't be afraid to use your calculator on this, okay? Use your calculator to figure out what 2 to the 4th power is and what 5 to the 2nd power is if you need to, and then do the addition and give me the answer. You can write this right on the document that I send you using Kami. So I hope you listened to the message that I sent you on Friday on how to make sure you have the Kami extension on your device. Okay? So that's basically it. That is what standard form is. Standard is the answer that you're going to get when you figure out the value of an exponent. Okay? The next thing on your notes is that I want you to remember, why do we use exponents? We use exponents because they express larger numbers. Right now, we're just working with little small numbers just for the sake of examples, but really they're used to express large numbers, okay? Now, one of the assignments that you have is about comparing the value of exponents. So I wanted to give you a little bit of review on that because we're going to use some symbols that you may not have thought about for a little while, okay? So when I say I'm comparing the value, that kind of sounds like similar to what we were doing when we were talking about ratios. We were considering only using fractions. We were looking at numbers of things compared to numbers of other things, okay? When you compare, you look at the differences and the similarities. That's what comparing is. But what we're trying to do is compare the value. We're trying to find out which value is larger and which value is smaller. And we're going to use those symbols that are greater than or less than. Remember these crazy things? Greater than or less than. This is greater than and this is less than. How do you remember? Well, this is how I remember. I remember that the large side, the one that's open, the big side that's open, is always greater. And I remember that the pointy side, which is the smaller side, is less than. That's how I remember it. However you were taught in elementary school, there's some things about crocodiles and all kinds of things. However you remember it, I don't care. That's up to you. But greater than and less than are the symbols we're going to use for this lesson. Okay? So if you have two exponents and you're trying to figure out which one is greater than and which one is less than, you have to do a couple of steps first. So in our example on the worksheet, we have 2 to the second power plus 4 to the second power. And then we want to know, is that greater than or less than 5 to the second power plus 3 to the second power? Okay. So we have a little work to do before we can figure this, we can decide which one is less than and which one is greater than. Okay. The first thing we have to do is find the value of these exponents. So 2 to the second power is 2 times 2. So we know that that is 4. Okay. 4 to the second power is 4 times 4, which is 16. So we know that this represents 4 plus 16. Okay. On this side, we know that 5 to the second power is actually 5 times 5, which equals 25. And we also know that 3 to the second power is 3 times 3, which is 9. Okay. So now we're looking at 25 plus 9, which equals 34. And 4 plus 16, which equals 20. Okay? So now it's a lot easier to decide which one is greater than and which one is less than. So if we were going to place our greater than and less than symbol in this example, we would say 20 is less than 34. 34 is the larger number, so the open side is closest to the largest number. Okay? 20 is less than 34. You could also say 34 is greater than 20. Okay? So that's pretty much it. It's a very simple lesson. You have 3 worksheets. You have this video. You have notes, and you have one other document that will help you to understand a little bit more about exponents. All of those things need to be completed and submitted back to me by next Monday. We are going to have our first period conference on Tuesday, and I will send you a time a little bit later on so that you know what time to tune in. Okay? As for that, I hope you guys have a wonderful and productive week, and I look forward to talking to you guys on Tuesday. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.